بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين, نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My dear audience, peace be unto all of you. My topic today might sound a little bit strange. It's not very frequent, but it is very important and it is essential. It is calculation versus moon sighting. A new perspective. A couple of weeks ago, I got a phone call from a friend, an old friend of mine. He is not educated, but he is a very good, successful businessman. It was very late at night. When I heard his voice, I couldn't resist answering him. Then he told me, I just have a very simple question for you. I said, I will listen to you, but please make it as short as possible. And he promised. Then he told me that the question is about moon sighting versus calculations, or calculations versus moon sighting. I said, go ahead. And he said, now I would ask you, which car would you buy? A Mercedes with a warranty, or the same Mercedes without a warranty? I said, definitely the first option. But this doesn't have any relationship with the question of calculations and moon sighting. And he said, no, it is. It has relationship. I said, how come? He started explaining to me in a very simple way, as if he's talking to a young child. And I smiled because I understood his message. And then I took the message after that and informed other people. He explained to me that the first option, the warranty, the Mercedes with a warranty, is the moon sighting option. And the second option, which is a Mercedes without a warranty, is the calculation option. I said, can you elaborate on this? He said, yes. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us via the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to fast Ramadan, and he said, the hadith, فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ فَأَتِمُّ الشَّهْرَ. He said that if there's one reason or another that you could not see, or you cannot see the moon, or if any of you made a mistake, in other words, in sighting the moon, you should continue completing the month. And this is the warranty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which implies that He accepts it. Otherwise He would not have commanded us to do that. He said that this option is the option of warranty. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guaranteed that if you made a mistake, or for whatever reason you could not see the moon, continue the month and I accept it from you. This is the one. I really smiled. I was very happy. And I said, فَتَحَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open paradise for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may open the doors of understanding and fiqh for you. And he said, the other option, there is not a single hadith or a single ayah from the Quran that says that if you make a mistake in the calculation because of the human factor, which is something that we see nowadays in all these calendars that are based on calculations, we still see differences, and probably because of the human factor. But anyway, regardless of what the cause is, there is a possibility of making mistakes in calculations, as there is a possibility of making mistakes in moon sighting. However, in the calculation issue, there is no hadith or no ayah in the Quran that says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts it. In other words, there is no warranty. If you follow the calculation method and you make a mistake, it's accepted by Allah. It was as simple as this. And then he raised the question, why don't you say this issue to those who support the calculation method? I said, I promise, whenever I meet them, I will explain it to them, and I hope inshallah it will affect them. Surprisingly, I took on my shoulder and Whenever I meet any one of those who are concerned with the issue of moonsighting and calculations, I would give him this metaphor. I call it the Mercedes metaphor. And in fact, a lot of people made very good comments. In fact, some of those who support the calculations could not continue the discussion because they found how simple this metaphor is and how simple it can solve problems. In fact, a lot of them in the United States, in particular, when they heard it, they promised me to reconsider and to rethink of the situation and to reconsider their position. Brothers and sisters, this simple metaphor tells us the essence of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed Islam in a way to make it very simple for any average person to understand it. The villager, the educated, the uneducated, every human being can understand the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without all these philosophical arguments that try to twist the texts that were sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or by His messenger. I think if we go back to basics and to take Islam, to revive it and to show it to people in its simplest form, it will be good for us and for people because it's very convincing. And I think this metaphor will encourage us, all of us, to go back to basics. What I mean by to go back to basics is that let's go to the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Instead of opposing it, instead of looking for texts and try to twist them into other directions, let's go to the Sunnah and see what the Prophet ﷺ did. And it was very clear. It is very clear that there is not a single proof in the Quran nor the Sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ used the calculation methods. Brothers and sisters, there's a hadith that I love to call it the problem solver hadith. A hadith that solves many problems if we understand it and apply it in our life. The famous hadith that says, تركت فيكم ما إن تمسكتم بهما لن تضلوا بعدي أبدا كتاب الله وسنتي عضوا عليها بالنواجذ. I left with you two issues that if you abide by them, you will never deviate. In other words, if you go away from the Quran and from the Sunnah, if you try to oppose them and twist the texts to your interest or to the benefit of some groups, you will deviate. And the only way to be saved from deviation is by abiding by the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not only that, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a wonderful ending of the hadith by saying, bite hard on them. Don't let them loose. Stick to them, because the golden rule, as the scholars say, once you leave a sunnah, a bid'ah, an innovation in religion, comes instead. So this is an invitation for all of us to abide by the sunnah, because if we leave the sunnah loose, a bid'ah, an innovation, will come instead. And I'm quite sure that all of us know the meaning of the bid'ahs in the religions and the dangers of these bid'ahs in the religion. The previous religions have deviated because they left the sunans of their prophets. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who listen to the statements, select the best of them and apply them in our life. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.